and welcome everyone. Thanks for your patience. This is the first hashtag Ask Me Anything webinar with none other than CA Nihar Jambusaria sir. And I, Pinal Shah, am the host for the day. Not that sir needs any introduction, but I would love to share some interesting facts about sir's career's journey so far. Nihar sir is a seasoned chartered accountant with nearly 40 years of experience. He has held diverse roles, including president of ICAI and senior vice president at Reliance Industries Limited. At present, he advises companies in direct tax, international tax, and mergers and acquisitions as an independent consultant. Having served as a senior partner at NN Jambusaria and Company and national head of tax at BDO International in India, he now operates as a tax and regulatory consultant specializing in corporate tax, dispute advisory, and family office structuring. His allocates include serving on advisory boards for government accounting standards, insurance regulations and securities markets, and chairing committees for accounting standards implementation and international tax at ICAI. Welcome to the webinar, sir. Before I go with the questions, I would like to inform the participants about the two webinar rules. To ensure that sir is not interrupted, we would request you to keep yourself on mute and video off at all the times. Secondly, I would encourage it to be an interactive session. So all the questions that you may have for sir, you may keep it in the meeting chat box and I will ask them on your behalf on the second segment of the discussion.
Yeah. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this first webinar, particularly on aspiring CAs and their career ahead. So, Pinal, you had several questions, and you said you will raise those questions and I should answer. So,
Yes.
start with the first question and let us talk with the participants.
Sir, so to begin with, it's rightly said that, journey to 1,000 miles begin with the first step. So, as a seasoned professional, what would your piece of advice be to the young and the aspiring chartered accountants who are yet to take their first step in the professional career to achieve long-term success?
So, I understand first that all those who have joined are newly qualified or qualified in the last 2 to 3 years. And as you rightly said, that it is a long journey. It is not a short journey of 1 year or 2 years. And therefore, one cannot expect overnight everything to happen. And although outside one may observe that there are a number of opportunities open for newly qualified professional accountants, one has to wait for all those opportunities to be fully grabbed and take first step to decide as to which career one prefers. So to begin with, I think once you qualify, there are basically 2 or 3 options open to you. One is either you take up a job in a corporate and in the accounts department, finance department, or in any other department as a chartered accountant serve the company. Another option is to commence your own practice or join a CA firm which is already in practice and eventually plan to either get submerged with the same firm or you start your own practice. This is another option open. And the third option is that after qualifying, one may prefer to be an entrepreneur and start some business activity. Now we have evidences of chartered accountants who are successful in several fields. Like some of them are in practice, or rather, many of them are in practice. Many of them are serving with corporates. A few of them are in politics. Some have gone to the extent of becoming cabinet minister also. Some were in film industry. Some are entrepreneurs. They are in business. And wherever chartered accountants are there, they are very successful and have set examples of success to the world. Coming to you now at this stage when you have to choose your career, I may say that although most of the newly qualifieds are preferring to have a job in a corporate and begin career in a company, and over last 10 years, the trend has been that about 70% of newly qualified chartered accountants join industry. Many of them are absorbed in accounts department, some of them in finance, some in tax, some in treasury, and there are many who have joined banks, financial institutions, and they look after some debt portfolio or equity portfolio or investment management of banks or NBFCs. So these are the various options that uh, chartered accountants have in companies, corporates, industry. On the other hand, there are very few who are going for practice. And for them, I want to give a message that in practice, perhaps 10 years back, it was right to assume that audit and tax are perhaps the only options. But if you see the progress of this profession in last 10 years, even in practice, there are number of areas in which one may enter and be a successful professional uh, and set an example. Like finance, tax, and audit are traditional fields, but I have seen that after the pandemic, many chartered accountants shifted to advisory to startups, and they have done exceedingly well. They are consultants to startups, and this is an area of practice developed in last 2 to 3 years. Insolvency law was enacted in India in the year 2016, and even our institute, that is Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, set up triple IPI, that is a separate Section 8 company to take up the role of qualifying insolvency professionals. Today, the scenario is that out of total insolvency professionals, 65% of insolvency professionals are chartered accountants. Most of them are very successful. Information technology. Although this field we have been discussing for last 5 or more than 5 years, truly we could realize the power of information technology during the pandemic when we were cut off with clients, we were cut off with employers, and we could show that we can function even without meeting personally, without traveling to office. And there we realized what is the power of information technology. Today, with the help of IT, we are using information technology to our advantage, particularly artificial intelligence. Big data has come to our rescue for fast and accurate decision making. Of course, here many cares are required to be taken. When you deal with big data, one has to ensure that data is properly structured and it is the clean data which is available as MIS for the purpose of decision making. Forensic accounting and forensic audit are another fields which have been developed recently, although these fields were there already in existence. But in current times, many corporates, many government agencies have ordered forensic audits, and our professionals are doing very well. Another field is arbitration and conciliation, and chartered accountants are most preferred in the area of arbitration. All these are very remunerative fields. If I may talk about another opportunity in industry, then with corporates, independent director position is again a coveted post. And here, if you choose a good company which intends to comply, which intends to introduce and have governance within the country seriously, these are some of the corporates which offer excellent opportunity to chartered accountants. Independent directors course is also available, and one may go by that course in corporates. Apart from accounts, finance, and tax, sustainability, that is ESG, is another field, another area. Uh, those companies for which ESG reporting is mandatory, they have created a separate department, and chartered accountants are involved in non-financial reporting also. Another area about which I can talk is enterprise risk management. I'm covering your question as exhaustively as possible so that at least the budding chartered accountants can get an idea as to what are the fields which are open for them. So risk management is another area which has picked up in the last few years, particularly with climate change. The risks are becoming unpredictable. And earlier we were saying that we are living in VUCA world. VUCA means vulnerability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. But in last 3 to 4 years, with floods, typhoons, wars, and so COVID-19 and so many such events happening, we have traveled from VUCA world to Bani world. Bani means brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. So risks have become so complex that many corporates have set up war rooms within their organization to deal with emerging risks. These are various areas in which chartered accountants can make their career. So these are the opportunities available in practice, in industry, in entrepreneurship, which CAs can explore.
So that was quite interesting information right at the start of the webinar. So something new which I picked up is that you do have independent directors course if you are looking for, budding chartered accountants joining the industry. When it comes to joining in practice, it's not that we have only traditional areas of tax and audit, but way more ahead, such as insolvency, bankruptcy code, advising to the chartered, advising the startups which are, booming right now with, India growing towards the 5 trillion economy as well. So I think this gave a holistic perspective for them to as how many options they have today from which they can choose as budding chartered accountants. And now that we have, covered the right foundation stone, which is the first step for the budding chartered accountants, there are specific qualities and skills which separate the remarkable chartered accountants from their peers. Every profession has some of the other such distinct characteristics. In your opinion, over the period of 40 years of your career, what do you feel are those specific qualities which separate them from the rest, and how would you advise them to cultivate to the budding chartered accountants?
Yeah, see, at one point of time, very right question. Chartered accountants were thought of as number crunchers. They can do number crunching, they can deal with taxes and nothing else. But recently, over last 10 years, and I will say more especially after the pandemic, which broke out in 2020, the corporates, government, and society all have realized that chartered accountants are solution providers and they are not mere number crunchers. And if you want to be solution providers, you should be in a position to use the depth of knowledge that you acquire during your qualifying years in such a way that you provide practical solutions to every uh, issue that a business would face. And for this purpose, depth of knowledge goes without saying is a must, without which you cannot advise anybody on anything. Apart from this, communication skill is another very important tool for communicating what is the right solution and showing that your knowledge really works. There were many chartered accountants in the past who were experts in the subject but were not very good communicators. But over last so many years, even our institute gave so much importance to communication skills and introduced communication course during the period of articleship itself, where the students were trained for communication. And the young chartered accountants who qualify now have far better communication skill, which they can use for communicating and effectively transferring their knowledge in the form of practical solutions to the issues that the industry or business would face.
Sir, as you rightly pointed out, that when 10 years back, if a person used to take a name of a chartered accountant, so they used to think about us as number crunchers. And when usually it came to communication, it was thought of that chartered accountants are not good communicators, for which Institute has rightly taken steps to incorporate them in the courses. But other than communication skills, there are many other obstacles on the road of becoming an exceptional chartered accountant and having a long, successful career. Usually, all chartered accountants have some common challenges which they face on the way. So, with respect to it, in addition to communication skills, what do you feel are the common challenges the chartered accountants would face, and how would you advise them to face that obstacle and overcome it?
So I think I will deal with this question from the angle of those chartered accountants who are in job with a corporate and those who are in practice. So those who are in service, see, when they qualify, generally they do not have any difficulty. They get a job and the job fetches far better remuneration than what was being offered to chartered accountants in the past. But when the journey commences in the industry, uh, their progress in the company or their progress in service sometimes is not as good as a person would have thought of, or a path that a person would have carved out, a person may feel he or she has not achieved. And the reason for this that I have seen is that chartered accountants normally think that they are either expert in accounting or they are expert in tax, or some of them think finance is their field. And then they don't go beyond this. Whereas in a corporate, if you want to progress, what is the road that one would expect? You may be appointed as an accountant, you may be appointed as finance expert, or you may be appointed in tax department. But eventually, your career path should progress towards becoming CFO and finally, in the current scenario, CEO. About 5 years back, CFO position was considered to be the highest position in industry for a chartered accountant. But after the pandemic, when businesses started realizing that chartered accountants can navigate the affairs of business as well as any CEO, they've started appointing chartered accountants in the position of CEO as well. And if you want to progress, my advice would be that in a corporate, don't stick to only one department. You should be versatile and you should be picking up various areas within the corporate, like as I mentioned, now non-financial reporting, sustainability. And because of sustainability, company may have to take decisions on capital funding, like new concepts of circular economy, renewable energy use for the purpose of carbon reduction have become imminent for corporates. So in these areas, chartered accountants can play very significant role, and ESG is the field in which they should try to be developing the expertise. ESG means environmental, social governance. When you encompass several areas of business within the corporate, you start progressing towards the post of CFO and finally CEO. So this should be the road roadmap for a chartered accountant in corporate if he or she wants to plan a long-term career there. Those who are in practice, although number of opportunities I talked about, like startups, insolvency law, information technology, forensic, arbitration, what are the challenges that a chartered accountant would face in developing any area of practice? I think time has gone when a person was able to start practice from home. Today, it is expected that you have a proper setup, proper information technology infrastructure, and you have appropriate manpower team to work with you. This would require capital. And capital uh, to have your own capital, it may take time. But these days, banks have started funding even professionals at very concessional rate. As I said, if one wants to be entrepreneur, one has to take calculated risks. And in the profession, the risks are very less. Even if you start practice with some lakhs of capital, there is no risk because the area in which you expertise, you start getting clients and the capital can be, the payback period can be short. Another challenge for any person in practice is size of the firm. Now, if you want to have a full bouquet firm practicing in many areas, and which clients would expect that if I come to you, I should get accounting, finance, tax, uh, even non-financial reporting, insolvency law related uh, inputs. So if you want to have a full bouquet firm, then even the size of the firm is a challenge to start with. And this is where we have to open up our minds and think that this is not the time of proprietary concerns. This is the time of collaboration, co-creation. And here, unless we join together, we will not be able to progress and make bigger impact on the practice or as entrepreneur. So for this purpose, one may start with partnership firm. The institute has offered another platform, and that is networking platform. Uh, Even the government 2 years back accepted our proposal for multidisciplinary partnership. Earlier, a chartered accountant was in a position to partner only with another chartered accountant. But today, a chartered accountant can partner with architect, actuary, company secretary, cost accountant. One may use all these tools, all these openings which are available for the purpose of growing the firm and making it big. So another challenge which a practicing firm, when it is small, may face is getting right people and team. The cost of people is rising, and in the beginning, it may so happen that you may not get enough staff members. Here, the firms have to open up their minds and have youngsters appointed first in the staff, and then they can start sharing some part of profit with them, make them part of their DNA and grow the firm. So this is the way in which one may think of overcoming the obstacles. Obstacles are there even in businesses, in every area which you look at. Challenges are likely to be there, and opportunities come only in the guise of challenges. If there are no challenges, life would be static, and therefore one should enjoy facing challenges and addressing them.
Sure, sir. You rightly said that eye of challenges only there are opportunities lying. It's just that we need to foresee them where they lie. So the key highlights which sir shared was with respect to the area of industry. We as charters should not limit ourselves to one specific area or role, such as maybe accounting, finance, or tax. Over a period, we are expected to know something and everything about each and every role and master a few, and then aim to reach a position of a CEO as on date. which was earlier considered to be up to a position of CFO only for a chartered accountant. Coming to the side of practice, we should eye on, bringing the manpower on board, because one of the challenges which we face today is having the right manpower at the right cost. Because initially we might not be in a position to have a huge capital. So, banking on the young professionals who are coming into the market, partnering with them and giving them a share of profit and growing together is somewhat would help the small chartered accountant firms to grow ahead in their career. While we were discussing, sir, you rightly pointed out that small CA firms need to network. Once they network, they will be in a position to have more ideas and move ahead. Networking today has become a sort of a buzzword. More often than not, we hear that network is your net worth. If you don't network, you'll be out of the market. So, for the chartered accountants who are in their various fields, how would you advise them that networking should be taken up? What are the various avenues open for them through which you can network and they can build a robust professional connect, which would help them in their career?
Yeah, so generally, if you ask chartered accountants to network and spare time for that, the common complaint would be that where is the time from practice, from delivering what we have undertaken? We hardly get time. And for this purpose, first step that one may take is in the office, start delegating work. When you start getting work, in the beginning, you may be doing everything yourself, which you should start delegating. Build a team. Team building is one skill that one has to develop. Once you build team within your office, you should start attending seminars. You should start speaking at seminars. You should take up some training work wherever opportunities are available. And you should try to see that you are present at as many public places as possible. In today's scenario, even networking is possible on social platforms also. Many platforms offer opportunities to network with each other. So these are the various ways in which one may network. And when you meet people at seminars, at functions, you may try to speak with each other, try to understand what is the expertise of the other person, and start sharing work with each other on networking basis. Eventually, some networkings may get culminated into partnerships. So it depends on how your relationships go. But to start with, one may start networking with others who have got skills in various areas. I have seen many chartered accountants not having certain areas of services within their firm, but they network with others and share work with each other. Many times networkings can be done in different areas. Like if your presence is not there in another state within India, then you may have networking with a firm of chartered accountants in that area also. In the opportunities about which I spoke, I think when we are on networking, I may talk about one networking opportunity which has opened up in recent years is outsourcing. Now, if you look at jurisdictions like USA, in USA, people, young students don't prefer accounting as uh, a preferred field. They go to other areas, and there is a shortage of accountants there. So there are two options open to a person: either go to USA, settle down there. But when in India, in last 5 6 years, so many opportunities have opened up, and 20 years ahead, we see India progressing. Why go to the other country, settle there, and then regret for not having been in India? So in that case, you may use networking platforms, have outsourcing done to India, and you can deliver services from here. Many CSC opportunities in Dubai now that corporate tax has been introduced. Many other new areas have been introduced there. But in Dubai, instead of shifting or migrating, one may open another setup there, or one may do work on outsourcing basis. So these are various opportunities of networking which are open for chartered accountants, and they can avail this for the purpose of development and progress.
Thanks, sir, for sharing your pearls of wisdom. Before moving ahead, I would, as we suggested, that it's a quite interactive session. So the participants can share their experiences, questions, and thoughts in the live chat box. We have a team at the back end. And at the end of the second segment, we would ask the questions to sir to find out the answers to your queries. Sir, you rightly said that in case of networking today, it's very important. And it's not only about networking, it can be done through various ways, like outsourcing. One of the areas which we said that you can outsource work from US, Dubai. Like if we say about taxation industry, GST per se, which has now become a state based. So in that case, also, if we are having firms, we can network with other people around and the business can keep growing. Social media can be leveraged to build meaningful partnerships, which can culminate into business opportunities to young chartered accountants, which will help you in the long run, will give you advice, will help you expand your practice, which is one of the challenge which we discussed earlier for the small chartered accountant firms. Now, coming to the area of networking, beyond networking, what happens is when we are facing challenges today, technology has outgone many of the professions. Some of them has been wiped out, but our profession has withstood the time and again. When it came to technology, we have evolved ourselves. Coming to technology today, we more often than not hear buzzwords such as data analytics, business intelligence, Power BI, Tableau. So these technological impacts on the profession are profound. How would you suggest the young professionals to adapt it, and how would it help them to be ahead in the game?
Yeah, every young chartered accountant should learn technology without fail. By default, they are learning, and the technology is being used by young chartered accountants better than any senior ones. Many times, even when I got stuck with any application, the young chartered accountants in office were out there to help me out. And therefore, this is the strength of young chartered accountants. One should not look at technology as a challenge. I recall the time when I qualified as chartered accountant in 1984. And in India, computers were introduced for the first time in 1986. At that time, also, there was a fear that now computers will take over so many functions that chartered accountants were doing, and we will be left jobless. So, what has happened over so many years? We have progressed faster than ever before. And with the new technology which is coming up, like big data, and as I mentioned earlier, structured data, if we know how to generate MIS out of the accounting packages we have by using Power BI, then this MIS can be used for decision making. Now, one may argue that ChatGPT can answer questions related to business, but please try to understand human brain is created by God, and human minds have created new technology. So, what is created by human mind cannot overtake what is created by God. And therefore, technology can facilitate us. But if we are on top of technology, we learn how to use it, we learn how to structure data, decision making will always lie with chartered accountants. On the contrary, chartered accountants should feel happy that all routine jobs of compliances, clicking the buttons and filing returns, filling up various forms, all this, the technology is taking over on auto platform, and we will be left with decision makings based on MIS generated by technology for our decision making. So that is the future of technology. Now, if you feel at any point of time you want to take questions from the audience, you may take, or you may ask further questions, whatever way.
Sir, so we have a few questions from our participants. One question is from Piyush Tandon. He's saying that, sir, I have my last CA paper left now. I have to go for an apprenticeship. Which type of company should I go, big four or mid-size? And how should I prepare for getting there?
See, if you are left with one paper and you want to go for apprenticeship, I don't think big four or smaller firm would make difference. You choose a firm where you may get overall training. Now, if you join a firm which gives you training only in one area, probably you will be expertising only in one area and the other options may not be open to you. Although I have a feeling that even if you work in one area, at least how to apply your mind to practical situation, you will learn there also. So if you are able to choose some fields and try to find out a firm where those areas are available for training, choose such a firm and join it. Big four, non-big four, this kind of differentiation does not make any difference.
Sir, one participant has asked a question that is CPA better career option now than CA today?
I would feel chartered accountancy is the best option available at any point of time. One can do CPA after becoming CA, and you will feel as if you are doing BCom. So CPA offers you some facilities, like you may do it a little faster than CA. Maybe you may appear subject wise, uh, but the exhaustive course which can offer you expertise in the field is chartered accountancy. One need not think of CPA. CPA you can do even after qualifying as CA very easily.
Sir, one of the candidate has asked a question that over the period, the demands of the industry and the clients have evolved and changed. So, over your lengthy career, what is the changes that you witnessed and how you have tailored yourself to adhere to those needs of the clients?
As I mentioned earlier also, that even our perception has changed tremendously. We were regarded as number crunchers, and now the businesses expect that we use their data and advise them. And our role has become multidisciplinary rather than just accounting, auditing, or dealing with taxes. So I would advise that if you are in practice, develop a multi-bouquet, full bouquet firm where you render all the services like insolvency, audit, tax, finance, and make a big firm. If you are in industry, the expectation would be not that you stick to accounting. And as I mentioned earlier also, then your career would be confined to a particular field. It is possible that after 5 or 10 years, you may become redundant for their company if you do not advance in your knowledge and gaining skills. So, multidisciplinary knowledge gaining is the solution to almost every expectation that industry or business may have from chartered accountants.
Sir, one candidate has asked a question that nowadays we hear that virtual CFOs and insolvency and bankruptcy law are some of the areas which have high demand for chartered accountants. What would your advice be? Is it a right career option to choose ahead post qualification?
Yeah, it's a very good question, particularly virtual CFO. What is this virtual CFO first? If a company is big, company will prefer to have its own CFO and full-time CFO. But if a company is mid-sized or small, it can do with a CFO who is not full-time with the company. And with the use of technology, now today, what is my office? My laptop or my iPad is my office. I don't require an office where I have to store a number of files. So I can be CFO of a mid-sized company and operate from one place. There is no need to travel every day to that company and look after its functions. Once the terms are decided as to what CFO has to deal with, from anywhere he can render the service of CFO. And virtual CFO is a position which one can hold in more than one corporate. So maybe two companies, three companies, or four companies you can serve together. You can build your own team and serve as virtual CFO with a company. You also asked a question about insolvency professionals. Now, there is a scope for insolvency law expert, not only in practice, but also even in company. So in practice, if you become insolvency professional, qualify, and want to start practice, you can start it. NCLT and others look for RPs whenever any corporate, any borrower goes for insolvency. So insolvency law is one area which is emerging, and over last almost 7+ years, because insolvency came in India formally only in 2016. Many professionals have taken up career as insolvency professionals. In big corporates, again, insolvency experts are required. Not that the big corporate will go into insolvency, but big corporates acquire those units which have gone in under the IBC law and which come up for auction. And at that time, whether to acquire it under IBC, go for merger, or acquire it and then merge with the existing unit. So all these are the questions which one can answer if one is aware about the insolvency law, the implications of insolvency law on tax, on business. And therefore, this is also an emerging field. And after 7 years of insolvency law coming into India, if one takes up this as a career, then you may have good training in an existing firm which has practice of insolvency law, and one can make career in this area.
Sure. So that was a great piece of insight specifically for insolvency and bankruptcy law, which is quite emerging and booming nowadays. So one of the participant has asked a question is that my father is a tax consultant. I have recently qualified as a chartered accountant. My query is that should I start my own practice or work for some experience and then join my father?
You may work for some experience because tax is a field, unless you are a tax expert. It would not be an interesting field if your father has a practice of return filing, attending assessments. Now, time has changed. So, if you go for some job where you can have training in newer areas, even if one wants to become a tax expert, one can look for litigation, one can look for advisory, one can look for international tax. And for this purpose, if you take training in some bigger firm or with some corporate, and then if you want to start your own practice or join your father, that could be a better option. So after qualifying, some training with some firms which have got the type of work that comes up with opportunities in the current time, it would help you get that kind of work in your own practice.
So one participant has asked a question that post qualification, while choosing career options between industry and consulting, do you feel that joining industry restricts one's in terms of exit opportunities later on? And instead, it would be better to continue with Big Four, where you have wider exit opportunities available.
If you ask, my choice would be practice always, because it offers you so many areas to develop your professional skills. You can even change areas of practice. But if in an industry you are stuck in one department, maybe the progress would be restricted. If you are able to join a big corporate, which is in several sectors, and rotation is possible, even job in a corporate would be a good option. These days, you start with good package, so even financial uh, restrictions or constraints may not come in your way. Choose a good company. If you are getting good career in corporate, it is fine. Otherwise, continuing with Big Four, getting good training, and then either starting your own practice or later on joining some corporate could also be good options for you. Both the options are good. It depends on what kind of offer and opportunity you get. So your question is relative. It is not absolute, which can be answered no, go to company or go to Big Four or go for practice. So evaluate the opportunities that are available, even in Big Four, even in a CA firm, and then take your decision where you would like to have your career.
So, owing to the paucity of time, we have quite a few questions, but we'll be taking one last question. We have a question from Hetal Bhanushali. She says that, Sir, I'm a newly qualified chartered accountant and I am confused whether I should join the industry or consulting would be the right choice to start my career.
So I have answered this
By and
question.
large, again and again.
I may repeat one thing. Hetal, if you are looking for uh, a comfortable job, choose corporate. But if you are looking for a career in the profession, consulting or practicing firm could be a better option. At young age, if you want to build career, you need to have experience in various fields. And consulting would offer you several opportunities to learn so many new things. Corporate job can be thought about after later in the career if you feel you want to have comfort at that stage.
So, last piece of advice from you over the period of 40 years of your career and to various posts and designations which you have handled, leadership roles, being the president of ICAI. How is it that you navigated your career to that position? And what would be your one final piece of advice for us so that we can also follow your footsteps?
See, number one is hard work. There is no option to hard work and perseverance. So, whatever you choose and pick up, you have to perceive it, you have to be at it, and you should do deep diving into whatever area you enter. You should be looking for solution for every issue that you get in the profession or even in job. And if you have that skill or if you have that willingness to do hard work, do deep diving, be solution finder always, then I don't think anything can stop you. And it is, even I did not have, I was not a rank holder. So it is not that right from beginning, I started from some height and reached somewhere. Wherever I reached, whether big or small, it was with some small work. Many times I see chartered accountants asking me one question that I want to do great jobs, but I get only small jobs. So how do I do show my skill? So my answer to this would be you do all small works in a big way. Any small work, do it so meticulously and so perfect that the other person who you have delivered that work will think of you when bigger work comes. So that is the way to success. And one has to see that whatever you deliver, it is as perfect as possible and as good as one can make it. Then slowly but consistently you progress in life.
So, That was a great piece of advice. Whatever you do in your life, irrespective of the area, however big or small it might be, give your 100% to it, and the road will unravel itself for you to follow. I think it was good having you on board, sir, and we learned a lot of new things today. We found our answers to many of the questions and the participants who might be thinking with respect to it. We look forward to joining for more such webinars on various topics where you guide us with respect to your knowledge, which you have gained and amassed over a period of 40 years. So,
Yeah, going forward, we will select some technical
yes.
topics also. So that would be more interesting.
Interesting.
This was too general to discuss what opportunities are available, and particularly youngsters who do not know. I thought it would be useful to them.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for coming on.
It was
Thank you,
great.
sir. Thank you all the